Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday, and welcome to Let's Play Every Day. I'm Tim McNiff, and each day it is my opportunity to sit down with some of the Twin Cities influencers in the Minnesota sports, business, and entertainment communities, and they take on the sports talkers of the day, all brought to you by, of course, Nick Gross and our good friends at Northern Lids. Check them out at northernlids.com. Now, yesterday, I was stuck with three guys. Today, I get the flip side of that, and I'm telling you what, I'm not complaining about this. Joining us, Tanishka Mhaskar, Tanishka content creator over at Hockey Wilderness, and of course for Zone Coverage, and the self-professed Queen of Chaos. She's back again. Here she is, Alexis Pearson, one half of the Bar Down Beauties podcast and member of the Minnesota Wild Radio Network. Now, you guys, we thought Richard Coffey was going to join us today, and no show so far. We're going to keep our eye out. If Richard joins us, we'll plug him in. Until then, it's just you and me. All right. Are you guys ready?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we're going to be full disclosure. I pound out a script every night, the night before, and I send this to these guys. Guess what I forgot to do? I am going to fire my producer. I'm telling you right now. he is gone. So these guys are working without a net. I love it. I'm not sure they do, but I love it. And here we go. So you guys, I'd kind of fallen into a pattern here at LPE. I would take three subjects and I would cover them in depth. But today I decided with Alexis being here, and she's only here once a week, and she likes chaos. So I go, let's be a little chaotic. Let's go more subjects and bounce around a little bit. No script. Are you ready?
Ready as we'll ever be.
All right. We're jumping in. Alexis, right away with you. Jalen Suggs was on a podcast this week and said that he was all set to go to the U of M if only Richard Pitino had bothered to recruit him. Now, hearing that, Alexis, I had to stop myself from breaking things all around my house. I mean, are you kidding me? Here we have a guy who is not just a top recruit. He's the number one recruit in the nation. And if you're Richard Pitino, you don't have to leave the state and get on a plane. You don't have to leave your zip code. You don't have to leave your city. And he doesn't recruit him. I mean, this makes me crazy. How in the world could this even happen?
I don't know how it could happen, but I will say this. Jalen Suggs must have no idea about how Minnesota sports pain works, because if I'm him, I don't even say that. I'm like, you know what? I didn't want to go to Minnesota anyway. Forget about Richard Pitino and the Gophers. I would have just kept that on the low if I were him, because he hurt a lot of people's feelings. He probably caused a lot of emotional damage. I thought that was a joke when I first saw that came out. I was like, no way. And then I saw it more and more and more. I'm like, oh, okay. So he was serious. This is a real thing. And this pain that we're feeling is real. We could have had Jalen Suggs on the Golden Gophers. So I think it's true. Why would he, what other reason would he have for saying it, right? At this point, it's not benefiting him in any way to lie about something like that. So it's unfortunate because as you mentioned, Minnesota kid, and to have him join the Gophers would have been, we love stories like that. Minnesotans thrive off of the Minnesotans staying in Minnesota to play sports story. And so it would have been a good one. And who knows how he could have contributed to the Golden Gophers. But Richard Pitino, you messed up big time on that one.
Oh my gosh. And it makes you think about, what must Richard Pitino have thought about his basketball program? If he didn't even try, that means he obviously thought in his mind, hey, he's never going to come here. I'm not going to waste my time. Tanishka, is there any possible defense for Richard Pitino in this one?
Insanity.
Basically. I mean, I just don't see, like you said, it's within the same city too. And it's not like he didn't know about him, because
he could have ridden a bike. He didn't have to get in the car.
Yeah. It's just Minnesota sports as usual.
Oh my God. And like Alexis said, doesn't it just rip the Band-Aid off? I mean, you're watching for Gonzaga and you're just going, you would have done so much for the Gophers, just even 1 year, and then just rip it off. And there's all the scar tissue. So Tanishka, I find this so offensive that I think New Mexico needs to fire Richard Pitino just for this. I think they need to. I mean, let's look at it this way. He's getting paid to be the coach of a Division I basketball program. Coaching is one thing. Recruiting is part of that. You're getting paid to recruit. This is dereliction of duty. I want the money back, Tanishka. I want the money back. Any chance we can do that?
I wish, or just go back in time. That
Yeah,
would be
time
more
capsule.
ideal.
Oh my gosh, crazy stuff. All right, you guys, let's switch gears. Let's go over to our Minnesota Wild. Alexis, I know you're part of that, so I'll try not to take you into water that's going to make you uncomfortable or get you in trouble with management. Okay, so first day of training camp, they have 50-some players in camp. They're going in different shifts, so I probably shouldn't make too much of this. But right away I heard, because we all want to know, who's centering Kirill Kaprizov. And I heard it was Joel Eriksson-Ek. And I love Kaprizov and I love Joel Eriksson-Ek. Why was my first reaction, yeah, no? Why didn't I like that?
Probably because you've got a pretty good hockey IQ, because I don't love it either. And I do really appreciate both of those players and what they've done for the Minnesota Wild. Obviously, Joel Eriksson-Ek signing a big contract here in the offseason. Kirill Kaprizov just signed his big contract here a couple days ago. And so they're going to be, important pieces of this Minnesota Wild team for the foreseeable future. And that top line center position and just the center position in general for the Wild has been questionable in recent years and pretty much forever, to be honest. And so the big question was, who is going to center that top line? We were talking in the offseason, are they going to acquire a centerman? Is it going to be Jack Eichel? If it's not him, who's it going to be? Who can we afford? And obviously they didn't pick up, any top line centers. And so then you're left with what you already had, which would be Victor Rask, Joel Eriksson-Ek, and now possibly Marco Rossi, who, has been involved in training camp here in the first couple days. So, those are kind of your options at this point. Victor Rask obviously had the main part of that job in last season, which left a lot of people speechless. And I would say for good reason, because he's not a true top line center. And I think what people's frustration is Kirill Kaprizov is likely going to be a superstar in the NHL. So why are you pairing somebody who's not going to be a superstar in the NHL and hasn't been a superstar in the NHL with that kind of talent? Joel Eriksson-Ek did get a little bit of top line center playing time last season, and I really enjoyed it when he did. I mean, it was few games that he was given that opportunity, but I thought it was a fantastic play by head coach Dean Evison and the coaching staff. Is Joel Eriksson-Ek a top line center, though? He's not. I love what Joel Eriksson-Ek has done for this Minnesota Wild team, but he is not a top line center. So I am crossing my fingers and toes that Marco Rossi does end up being the guy everybody is saying he's going to be, because if he is, there's your top line center right there. You've got Matt Zuccarello on one wing, Kirill Kaprizov on the other, and you got Marco Rossi up the middle, and suddenly the Wild have a very dangerous top line.
Tanishka, any other take on that?
No, she nailed it. That's perfectly ideal. And then if you potentially have a second line with Joel Eriksson-Ek, Kevin Fiala, and Matthew Boldy, that would be pretty nice.
I worry about getting Joel Eriksson-Ek away from Foligno and some of those guys, because it was like last year, it was like, do I see the 266 defenseman who weigh 240 pounds? Yes, I do. I'm going there anyway. Joel Eriksson-Ek is like a dog on a bone.
Yeah.
He doesn't see left or right. He just goes wherever he's going, and the other teams hate him for it. And I love that about Joel Eriksson-Ek. But I mean, I see Kaprizov as like Baryshnikov. He's a dancer. He's art. He's movement. That's not Joel Eriksson-Ek.
No.
Joel Eriksson-Ek's like, see puck, get puck. Am I wrong?
Not at all. And that's what makes him exciting to watch in a different way.
Well, let's talk about Kevin Fiala. I mean, because here you got Kaprizov got the contract he wanted. Fiala did not. And he came back and he's on a one-year contract, and he said, now I've got fire in my eyes to prove myself. Tanishka, is this a situation that can be resolved, or are we just playing for time and he's already out of here?
I think it just depends on sort of how next year goes, I guess. It definitely would not be ideal for him to just be on that 1-year deal, but at the same time, I understand why Bill Guerin did it with the 2 restricted free agents and Joel Eriksson-Ek. There was just a lot going on. I don't think he's necessarily out of here, but the negotiations next offseason could, if they get ugly, then possibly, yeah. But right now, I do think he'll have another good season, because if not here, he's going to get paid somewhere else.
Okay, way back before you guys were born, the Minnesota Timberwolves had this really nice young player named Kevin Garnett. And they had like the 3rd pick in the 1996 draft, and they drafted a guard by the name of Ray Allen. And I'm like, this is perfect. Here's a guy who went to UConn, multiple-time All-American, great outside shooter, solid citizen, graduated, you know what I mean? Never a hint of trouble. And then like 3 hours after the draft, they trade him for Stephon Marbury, who is like the opposite. Was at Georgia Tech for 1 year, wouldn't run the offense. His dad and his brother were telling him what to do, and he was doing that rather than listen to his coach, who's a Hall of Fame coach. And I'm like, no, if you have these two guys, I could play point guard on the team and we make the playoffs. We might not get a ring, but I mean, you don't need that point guard. And the Timberwolves made this change. And why I'm going here is Marbury and Garnett wanted this, and they wanted to play together. And then after a while, Marbury's like, you know what? He's got a pretty big shadow, and I'm not really comfortable in it. I want to be somewhere where I can be that guy. I'm going to the point, Alexis, where, can Kevin Fiala be the peanut butter to Kaprizov's jelly? Can he be that number 2 guy and be okay with it?
Well, look at other teams in the league who are like that. McDavid and Draisaitl, Marner and Matthews. I mean, you see tandems like that in every good team in sports, right? You can't just have one superstar. One guy is not going, or girl is not going to carry a team to a championship unless you're LeBron James. I'll give you one exception there. But pretty much every other team and sport and whatever, you need, more than one person to help carry that weight. And you can have multiple superstars on a team. Those are the teams everybody hates to play against because it sucks, because they're so good. And no matter who's on the court, the ice, the field, they're dangerous because there's more talent on that team than just one superstar. So if I'm Kevin Fiala, I'm thinking, okay, I can be that guy then. Who can be, it's Kirill Kaprizov and Kevin Fiala. That's the face of the franchise, right? Like, you could have that, and that would be desirable. And if I'm a fan, I would love that. If I'm the coaches, I would love that. And if I'm Kevin Fiala, I would hope that I would love that as well. Now, I will say this. Kevin Fiala, I wouldn't be surprised or frustrated with the idea that he might be a little upset at the way that negotiations were handled this offseason, because he truly was, put on the back burner for Kirill Kaprizov. And Kevin Fiala had a great season last year too. So let's not forget that. I know Kirill Kaprizov, stole the limelight and everybody was talking about him, but Kevin Fiala really, really started to play like the guy that we hoped he was going to be when he was brought on this team. So did he deserve a little bit more respect maybe in negotiations this offseason? Probably. And would I be a little frustrated with the deal I was given? And, they're waiting on Kirill, and is he going to sign this contract and Kirill takes it down to the wire? Yeah, I would be frustrated if I'm Kevin Fiala. But you know what? This is your chance to prove it. Like Tanishka said, make the most of the season, because if the Wild don't re-sign you, somebody else will want you. And if he can play like he did last season and even elevate that game a little bit, the Wild could have a deadly 1-2 punch with their, top 6 forwards if they can get Kirill Kaprizov on that first line and Kevin on that second line. So he has nothing to lose by playing well this season, because he's going to get a contract somewhere if it's not here. So, but I would understand if there's some frustration with the way things are handled, but I hope he's able to get through that and just play again like he did last season.
Yeah, and it was interesting seeing the structure of Kaprizov's deal, because it seems as if he is trying to leave the team money in the early you're going. So that maybe is a possibility.
Yeah.
To see what this team does this year. And Kevin Fiala, this is an organization that has never been just like drunk with goal scorers, right?
Yeah.
We have a lot of effort guys, but not a lot of people who finish. Tanishka, when you get a finisher like a Kevin Fiala, you really can't let him go, especially as young as he is.
Yeah. No, it would be ideal if next offseason they just got him signed to a long-term deal after another good season this year, because then you have a really nice core for a couple years with Kaprizov, Fiala, Joel Eriksson, Rossi, Boldy, assuming they're who we think they are. So it would be really exciting. Like, Wild hockey would genuinely be very fun to watch.
All right, I'm going to switch it up, you guys, and go a little scattershot. You, Alexis, you said to me before you came on, you figured the Timberwolves were coming up, and here it comes. They wait until there's less than a week before they tip off their training camp to part ways with the president of basketball operations. Think about the guys inside the team, Kat, and the rest of those guys who it's just like a clown show. Every week it's something else. What do you do, or what do you feel for those players who have to play for an organization that just seems to be in perpetual turmoil?
Listen, I am someone who will, like, to the death defend Minnesotan athletes and Minnesota sports teams. And when everyone else is saying this team sucks and this guy sucks and I've had enough, I don't want to watch this, I don't want to do this, I'm the one who's like, no, let's give them one more chance. The Timberwolves, however, and I'm not a basketball fan, the Timberwolves do not get a pass. I'm laughing with everybody else when the Timberwolves news breaks because it seems constant. It's, you've got the Jimmy Butler drama, you've got this drama, you've got that drama, and the Timberwolves suck and they've made the playoffs once in, 20 years. It's like, when does it end? I mean, it really is laughable at this point. It's like, what are you actually doing? Because you've got enough issues just trying to win games. Then you've got all this stuff going on behind the scenes with management. And the story that came out this week is just embarrassing. Like, it's embarrassing on so many levels. It's embarrassing for the organization. It's embarrassing for the people involved. Like, what are you doing? I mean, it's just like, I was reading the stories coming out and I'm like, this is funny because it's so sad. Like, it's just, I don't know how else to put it. It's so Timberwolves. And I think that's the worst part of all of it is that when this news came out, everyone was like, sounds about right. That's the Timberwolves for you. Like, if this came out, somewhere else, people would be like, oh my God, like, this is crazy. This is huge. Like, how are we going to rebuild? It's like, Timberwolves fans don't care because they've been rebuilding for years and it hasn't been working yet. So is this really going to set them back any further? But you do. I mean, like you said about the players, you feel bad for them. I mean, these guys have worked their whole lives to get to this point, to play professional basketball, to be a part of something bigger, to try to win championships. And it seems like they've just been struck with, laughable disaster after laughable disaster. And it seems unavoidable at this point. And I mean, Kat's tweet, what did he tweet? WTF ... It's like, they're just speechless at this point. What else do you have to say about it? It's sad, really.
It is. And I do feel bad for the players. Tanishka, you write football for Zone Coverage. I've been taken to the college ranks unprepared. The Wisconsin Badgers are playing Notre Dame tomorrow at Soldier Field in Chicago. Billed as a preseason favorite heading into the season for a national title, Notre Dame, which has not really overly impressed, they have a quarterback who used to wear Badger red. So is there any chance that both these teams can lose this game? And if you don't like that question, let me ask you this. Who has the advantage here? The team that, because you got a grudge on both sides. You got a quarterback who wants to show that, Wisconsin, yeah, you shouldn't have let me go. And you got Wisconsin going, yeah, no, not that guy. He's not beating us.
I mean, it's interesting because Graham Mertz has been pretty underwhelming just overall this year.
But excuse me, what wasn't Cohen when he was 10-4 with the Badgers? Didn't you say to yourself, if they had a better quarterback, they could be a national title team?
They somehow got worse, so it's kind of funny. But
it is funny.
It's funny because it's Wisconsin.
That's right.
He's been underwhelming. So yeah, they've definitely gotten worse at the QB position. Cohen's been all right. I think he's not, he's been the guy that he was in Wisconsin, but at this point, that's better than what the Badgers have. So it's interesting because Cohen knows a lot about the Badger defense for the most part and how they run it. And you could say the same the other way with their defensive coordinator knowing a lot about him. So it'll be pretty interesting to see who actually ends up with the advantage. But it should be a good game. But yeah, Wisconsin definitely downgraded at QB.
Yeah, amazing. And that was a conscious choice that they made. Alexis, the Minnesota Vikings 0-7 all time against Seattle quarterback Russell Wilson, including, of course, the 1-point loss in the Emerald City last year. There is no way the Vikings can afford to start the season 0-3 and expect anything good to come out of this. Is this the year? Is this the time they finally flip the script and find a way to beat Russ and the Sea Chickens?
Well, I am a fan of coming up with sayings that make no sense until you really think about it. And one of those sayings that I have is, until somebody did it, nobody did it. So maybe this is the game that they finally break into that record, get that first victory against him, start to turn their season around. Because as you said, Tim, if the Vikings don't win this game, like, do we just give up on the season? I mean, I'm not that person. the Vikings Twitter will have a meltdown. I'll watch it from afar and laugh, but I don't know if I'd give up on them just yet. But it is not going to be a good look. And it's tough because we've talked about this the last couple of weeks, is that, win 1 would have probably been week 1. Win 2, I think, week 2 was a toss up. The Vikings could have probably won that game. And now looking at how it unfolded, they definitely could have won it. They just couldn't get on the other side of it. Week 3, we all knew was going to be probably the biggest test of early on in this season for them, especially depending on how those first couple of weeks went. And so I'm not a fan of saying a game is like do or die, especially early on in the season, but it really has that feel to it where it's like, gosh, if you guys can't figure out a way to win this game, this is not going to be a good, look going into the rest of the season. And people are already starting to turn on the team. I mean, it doesn't take much for Minnesota Vikings fans to get frustrated and start looking the other way. But I think a loss here would be tough. On the flip side, though, getting a win here would be huge. Just knowing how, hard it's been for them to play the Seahawks. Russell Wilson has just torn them up. I mean, if they can get a win here, I think that has just as much momentum moving in the right direction as a loss would moving in the wrong direction. I mean, that the game feels that like it has that much weight to it. Can they actually do it? I don't know. I think there's still some questions of players if they're going to be able to play or not, which is going to be a big part of if they win this game. But it's going to be ugly if they don't. I'll say that much.
Well, going with what you just said there at the very end, there was an Anthony Barr sighting at practice yesterday, tempered by the fact that Dalvin Cook did not practice because he's dealing with an ankle injury. Tanishka, I was going to ask you which is the bigger story, but I think we all know the answer to that one. I mean, without Dalvin Cook, it ain't happening.
No.
So let me ask you this. How much, or is it an advantage for the Vikings to face Russell Wilson a week after they faced Kyler Murray, being that Murray is a younger, faster version of Russell Wilson?
It is a huge advantage, I think, because you're basically game planning for the same type of QB and offense 2 weeks in a row. And I thought the Vikings front seven did a pretty okay job against Murray. The secondary was god awful, but the front seven was pretty good. And if like Danielle Hunter brought him down 3 times, if they can actually get Wilson down earlier in the game, then they should be able to settle in pretty well. But just going off of that, I think backtracking a little bit, we do need Anthony Barr. He's very underrated and overlooked by a lot of Vikings fans. I think he's probably your best run defending linebacker, and without him, Nick Vigil's great. He's made great plays. He's at sacks, the pick six. It's all great, but his run defense, it's kind of like Eric Wilson last year in a way where, yeah, he's flashy, but when it comes down to sort of the more fundamentals, like with the run defense and stuff, he's not in the right gaps all the time. And if one person's not, it kind of messes up the entire play. So I do think that getting Anthony Barr is honestly kind of, if he plays, it's pretty close in weight to losing Dalvin Cook, because I truly think that his importance is he's really important to the defense.
I like it. Just real quick then, on the follow-up to what Alexis is saying about, the importance of the win versus the loss. Do the Vikes get it done on Sunday? Do they find the win column?
Sure, why not? Let's go with that. Because everyone's probably betting against them. So, although the bets I've made on football this week have not gone my way, so maybe I should bet against the Vikings and then they'll win. It hasn't looked good. Monday Night Football, not on the right end of that. Thursday night, not on the right end of that. I'm going to say sure, why not? Because you got to turn the tide at some point, right? No team is going to go 0 and whatever or something and 0, right? I mean, you will eventually pick up a win here, even if it's by sheer luck. If lightning strikes the field and somehow that helps the Vikings win a game, sure, we'll take it. I mean, whatever we'll get. And like you said, playing against a guy like Kyler Murray last week, who I thought the Vikings looked good against, right? I mean, that was a very close game. It could have probably gone either way. There was just some, things that happened. The Vikings couldn't come out on the other side of it. So if they play on Sunday, like they played against Kyler Murray, I think they stand a good chance of at least keeping this close, which gives everybody a chance to win a game if you can keep a game close for as long as possible. So I'm going to say, I'm going to say Vikes win. I'm going to say it's a touchdown or less difference in the game. And that's what's going to happen because the first 2 games of the season have been extremely tight. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is another close one for the Vikes.
Tanishka?
I am also going to say we win. I think it's not like they've been blown out 2 weeks in a row or just playing horrible football. Some parts haven't been great, but they've played 2 pretty good teams. I think that they just need one win to kind of get momentum rolling. Like, they're not a bad team. They've just had so many unlucky bounces 2 weeks in a row. Like, even last week, they should have won that. Week 1 is a little more like, I don't know if they deserve to win, but last week they should have won that. So I think that at home in front of 70,000 Vikings fans, all the momentum on your side from the moment you step out on the field, I think they get it done. But I also think just because it's the Vikings, it'll probably come down to the last play again 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah, can we get I want them to win it early so I can just relax for most of the game. I mean, wouldn't that be nice?
I hope it comes down to a last-second kick.
Yeah, you would. You would, Tim.
We're really good at those. Yeah. All right, you guys, last question, and it's a hypothetical situation. It's Sunday, and you have only one television to watch. All of these events are happening at the same time. They're not, but in a hypothetical situation, they are. Are you watching the Vikings and the Seahawks, the Lynx WNBA playoff opener, which is a one-and-done situation, or the final day of competition at the Ryder Cup? Tanishka.
Vikings all day. I think football Sundays, like my Sundays, no matter what sports are on, if football's on, it's always football, even if we're not playing.
I love it. Alexis.
Yeah, I got to go with Sunday too. I normally work Sunday mornings, and then I have this tradition of going over to my parents and watching football with my dad the rest of the day. So can't break that tradition. Although this Sunday will be different. I got things going on this Sunday, but would tune into that. Golf would be last. No offense to the Ryder Cup, but I will be following along with the links are doing on Twitter for sure as I'm watching the Vikings game.
I'm recording the Ryder Cup even as we speak, and I'm like going to do one of those things where I'm going to try to do media blackout, like just try to not to.
It never works.
No, it never does. But I love the Ryder Cup, and unnaturally, probably like to me, it's like second only to the Masters, and the Masters happens every year, and I have to wait 2 years for the Ryder Cup. So yeah, that would really, and I knew. We wouldn't get to the Lynx, but you know what? Probably the most deserving of the whole thing would be the Lynx, watching them. And we know now they're playing Chicago and it's Candace Parker. And I'm like, no, not Candace Parker. I don't want to get in a one-game situation with Candace Parker. I don't want that. So we wish them the absolute best, obviously, going forward. All right, you guys, what do you think? So I don't send you scripts anymore the night before?
I thought we did great. Yeah.
You guys crushed it. Absolutely crushed it. Tanishka throwing out the quarterbacks for, Wisconsin, the other guy. I didn't throw the name out there. I'm just like, you go. All right. So Tanishka, where can people find your work?
Zone coverage for football and Hockey Wilderness for the Wild.
And I hear that somebody's really kind of strong-arming you to do an NFL draft show in the near future. I hear somebody's really working you.
Yeah. I would, probably going to try to get that started soon too. That would be very exciting.
Gosh, I love you. All right, Alexis, what's going on with you and the Bar Down Beauties?
Yeah, we Bar Down Beauties, latest episode that came out, we had Dean Evison on, the head coach for the Minnesota Wild. Great conversation with him. A lot of previews ahead to the season. We got Tim Army coming on this week. We record that later today, so make sure you check that out. Good look into some prospect stuff. So should be a good one as hockey season gears up. We'll have more and more guests coming your way, so check us out on all platforms, YouTube as well, and you won't be disappointed.
Has your role been a little bit more defined with the Minnesota Wild?
Actually, I spoke on the phone with Kevin Fallness, my boss, last night. It should be able. I actually will be working some away games as well from the studio at XL Energy Center, which is the first time I'm getting to do that. Talked to Kevin last night on the phone, and he was like, "I can't wait to work with you again." And that was such a good feeling to hear that because it has been so long since I've been with those guys, and by far my favorite job I've had the chance to do. And so knowing that I'm going to be back doing that again this season is a pretty good feeling.
All right, a little bit of the Wild Radio Network. Very happy for you to be back where you're supposed to be. Yes. Congratulations. And thanks for dropping some breaking news on us this morning.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Very cool. All right, you guys, I've been closing the shows lately. I haven't put a name on this publicly. I will today. I'm calling it Tim's Take. And what I'm doing is I'm just basically ending the shows with a little something off the top of my head that I write late at night when I probably shouldn't be writing anything, or at least not saying publicly what I write. So here we go. The Minnesota Timberwolves announced yesterday that they're going to introduce incoming owners Alex Rodriguez and Mark Lord to the Twin Cities media on Monday. There's been a lot of apprehension and hand-wringing about Rodriguez and Lord taking over for Glenn Taylor. And quite frankly, I don't get it. Think about it. This is a franchise that has reached the playoffs 9 times in 32 years. During their best stretch, they made the playoffs 8 straight seasons, only be eliminated in the first round in 7 of those years. Now the woeful T-Wolves part ways with their president of basketball operations less than a week before the start of the season. Now, I'm not saying that it didn't have to happen. Things were going on. I get it. But I don't possibly see why any tears would be shed over the end of Glenn Taylor's tenure as Wolves owner. We wondered how anyone could possibly be more inept than Harv and Marv until Glenn Taylor showed us that 2 heads really are better than 1. So now those 2 heads belong to Rodriguez and Lohr. And what do we have to be afraid of? That they'll do worse than Glenn Taylor? Oh, all right. They're going to move the team. Well, that's not going to happen because Glenn said it won't. He promised us. And good old Glenn, we can trust him, right? He's never been wrong before. All right. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to you two. You guys crushed it today. We hope that Richard Coffey is fine and has not become the victim of anything ill will. So we hope that we'll hear from Richard and everything will be okay there. If you're wondering, we did expect Richard, didn't have him today, but hope we'll have him back. Want to thank Nick Gross and the good folks at Northern Lids for their support. This is Let's Play Every Day, part of the Let's Play Sports Network. Have a great weekend, everybody. We hope to see you right back here Monday morning.